Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I will finish my previous project. So this will be basically the continuation of the previous video, let's say. Yeah, so in the last video what I have did is that I created very simple triple moving average indicator, and now I will use this indicator in order to create fully functional expert advisor. Okay, so I think the best way to start this is to actually show you the indicator that we did or that I did in the previous video. So let's just check it. It's nothing fancy, to be honest. It's just simple triple moving average indicator. So where is it? Yeah, it's right here. So let's check it. So this indicator has some, how can I make this? Sorry for this. Come on. Sorry. Yeah, this is it. Okay, perfect. So this indicator basically takes three positional arguments, as you can see right here. And these arguments are for the first moving average period, second moving average period, and the third moving average period. So yeah, let's go with these initial settings. And when I click on OK, you can see the indicator loaded on my chart. So yeah, so these are the moving averages. And when we zoom in, we can see these arrows. Okay, so they are not that visible. So I should probably change that. But anyway, they are signals. Okay, so signal means that they basically tell us whether we should open buy or sell position. I think it's pretty self-evident, but these red arrows mean that we should open sell position, and these green arrows mean that we should open buy position. So that's basically the recap for the indicator. I'll just look for one more sell signal. Yeah, so this is much more visible than the first one. So here this red arrow means that we should open sell position. I think that I can just do one very fast thing, and I'll just update the indicator's code. So set integer 0 name object prop width, and let's do 3. So I just want to make these arrows larger. Yeah, so now they are more visible. Or we can go for something like 5 as well. Yeah, so this is perfect. Okay, so now I will take this indicator and I will use it when creating an expert advisor that will open buy positions on these green arrows and sell positions on these red arrows. So let's do it. So I will go to my MT5 editor. I will open my experts folder, right click on it and create a new file. Automated trading system, the first option right here. I still didn't change the language to English in the settings, so sorry for that. But it's basically the first option right here. Click on OK, and let's call it something like triple moving average EA. And we'll need 3 positional arguments. So if we remember correctly, there are required 3 positional arguments for the indicator itself, and therefore we need it in the EA as well. So we can then basically take all of these 3 inputs and input them into the custom indicator. I hope that makes sense. So let's call it MA1. Now let's copy it here. So MA2 and MA3. So all of them are integer type. And first one 25, 50, and 100. So this should do the trick. Let's click on next. Do we need any of these functions? We don't. So click on next and finish. So yeah, this is our expert advisor. So let's start with the basics. So the very first thing we need to do is that we need to include the trade .mqh. Okay, so this basically allows us to work with positions and orders. And now let's create an instance of this class or library. So ctrade trade, and this should be it. Okay, so now we have this object called trade that we will use throughout this video. So then we need to declare some global double variables. Okay, so let's go for bid and ask price, and these variables will basically serve or we will update the latest ask and bid prices of the market into these variables right here. So that's why we need them. And let me think. So now we of course need to include our custom indicator. Okay, so with custom indicators it's not that simple in MQL5. Working with built-in indicators is extremely simple. With custom indicators it's not that simple, so let's get into it. Okay, so firstly we need to specify a resource. Okay, so a resource is basically a file that we will be working with throughout the rest of the code, and therefore we need to specify the file on the global scope. It's just how the things are done. So now we have to find the directory of the indicator. So let's go right here. So we start with indicators. Okay, so this is our first folder. Then our second folder is YouTube, so YT, and then we have this triple MA indicator. So let's do this triple MA indi.ex5, and let's compile it. Okay, no errors, that's fine. Perfect. So just make sure that you input here the correct directory, basically. Yeah, the directory does not have to be the same for everyone. So I will show you one very simple trick how to find the directory. You just click on your file, and yeah, I have it in Czech, so sorry, this won't be very helpful to you, but basically this option right here, it basically tells you to copy the full path to the indicator. Okay, so when I click on this, I go here and I just paste it here. You can see that this final directory is the same as I am using right here. Okay, and you just have to make sure that you use ex5 instead of MQ5. So that's just how you can simply do it. Okay, so let's continue. Now we have to create a handle for the custom indicator. So let's call it MA in the handle. Okay, and I think for this moment this is all we need to declare on the global scope for now. So let's move to the onInit function. Yeah, one more thing. I think it's not that important for our EA, but it's always a good practice to include this in all of your EA, so let's do it. So we'll add one more input integer, and that's the magic number. Okay, so this is something that it's just like a good practice to include this input variable in all of your expert advisors. So let's just do the first thing. So now we will set the expert magic value to the magic number we specified right here. And now let's move to the custom indicator. So now what we want to do is that we want to load the triple moving average indicator into our moving average indicator handle. So how to do that? We can do this. We can do it like this. So we assign the value of I custom for the current symbol, current period. So now it wants the indicator name, which is basically the same as our directory. So you just can go here, copy it here, and you just have to replace this with these double dots, yeah, and that's your indicator name. And then what you have to do is that you have to input all of those needed inputs, okay? So all inputs that the indicator requires. So in this case, it's MA1, MA2, and MA3. Perfect. So everything fine, no warnings, no errors, so we can move forward. Okay, so we won't need the onInit function, so let's delete this, and let's only work with the onTick function. So, okay, so what we will do now is that we will go basically step by step, and I would suggest to use as many functions as possible just to make our code very, very clean. So let's do it. So our first void function, so void function is basically a function that does not return any value back to the user. So let's use void function and let's call it get data. Okay, something like this. So get data will basically get values for our custom indicator. Yeah, so that's all we will do inside this get data function. So get values for the custom indicator. So how to do that? For this we need the copy buffer function, of course, and we also need to specify an array in which we will store those values. So let's create a double signal array, okay, and it will be on a global scope. So we can basically use this function on so we can use this array in all functions basically. Yeah, so copy buffer, we start with the MA indicator handle. Yeah, buffer number is. So now this might be a little bit tricky. So now we have to know the number of the buffer that we want to access. So if we go back to our indicator code, so this is our indicator code, and we can see right here the buffers that the indicator uses. So the first buffer is this one with buffer number of 0, and this is basically for storing values for the first moving average. So then you have the second for the values of the second moving average, and the third buffer for values of the third moving average. And you can see that our signal buffer is the fourth one, okay? And it uses buffer number 3. So we will just take this value right here, copy it here, and we are good to go. So then starting position is, let's go for 1, count 1, and we want to store this one single value into signal array. So perfect. That's good. And what we can also do is that we just can specify a new double variable called signal. Yeah, and we will just assign the signal, the value from the signal array to the signal variable. So this way we are just dealing with one variable and we don't have to access the first value of the signal array every time we need signal. Okay, so this is good. So now, now it might be a good practice just to check whether we succeeded with getting the signal from the indicator. Okay, so now let's just check it. One more thing I forgot to mention is that most of the time it's a good practice. Sorry, I just do this here. Sorry, symbol period current. So it's usually a good thing to access the indicator values once per every new candlestick or bar. Yeah, so that's what we will do here. So if last bar is not equal to the bars, then what we will do is that we will call the getData function right here. Okay, so and then we of course have to update the last bar variable. So now let's just comment out the signal value. So let's go here. Let's find our, how is it called? Triple MA. So right here, 1 minute, visual mode, and let's check it. Okay, so this is our signal value basically. So let's just check if this value changes. And it does. It's not visible, so this wasn't very useful for you, but if you just like focus on this value right here, you can see that it sometimes changes. So this wasn't very practical, but yeah, it works. And that's the most important thing. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm not sure if my screen is visible enough, so I will just increase the font to 14. So now I hope you can see it a little bit better. Anyway, let's continue. So we will expand this if-else statement right here, because getting data is not the only thing we want to do once every new candlestick. Now we will create an entry function. So entry function will be a function in which we will open new buy and sell positions based on the signal. And in this case, entry function will be also something that we want to execute only once per every new candlestick. The reason is that we want to avoid opening multiple positions on the same candlestick for the same signal. So that's why we do it like this. So void once again, and let's call it entry function. Okay. So now it's very simple. So we do if signal is equal to, I think it was 1 for buy position, but we can check it. And I think it was signal equal to -1 for sell positions, but we will check this. So just bear with me here. So let's go back and let's check what values. Yeah, so signal I -1 for the sell signal and 1 for buy signal. Okay, perfect. So we forgot, or I forgot, a few inputs. Yeah, and now it's pretty obvious. We need inputs for volume, take profit, stop loss. So there are multiple things we can approach all of these values. Basically, we can do dynamic volume, we can do percentage-based volume. For take profit, stop loss, it's the same thing. We can. Do you know what? We will do two modes for this expert advisor. So the first mode will basically use static take profit and stop loss. So if we specify take profit of 100 points and stop loss of 500 points, every position will have these targets. And the second mode will be dynamic. So what we will do with the dynamic mode is that basically we will close positions on opposite signal. So for example, if you open buy position on signal equals to 1, then we will hold this position as long as there's no sell signal. And once there is a new sell signal, we will open new sell signal, and at the same time we will close that previous buy signal, and vice versa. Yeah, so I hope this makes sense, and it will be also very interesting thing to create. So let's create group. Okay, so just to have some the code is clean, and let's call it risk settings, something like this. And let's create with classic input double take profit points equals to 100, input double stop loss points equals to 500, and right here input double volume equals to 0.1, something like this. So now it's very simple. We just go here and we do this. So trade by volume symbol ask. I will update this later. So stop loss is ask minus stop loss points times point, ask plus take profit points times point, and comment, let's give it a buy comment. So this is very simple. So now let's do the same thing for the sell signal. So sell signal bit plus, bit minus, and sell. Perfect. So now, of course, I did forget one thing, and the thing is that I don't get the latest ask and bid price. So that's something I will do on get data function right here. So let's do, sorry, I won't do, or I could do that because, no, let's do it here. Like, it doesn't make any difference, but just to make it very clear, let's do it on every tick. So ask is equal to symbol info double for the current symbol and symbol ask, and bid is equal to symbol info double for the current symbol and symbol bid. So now we get the latest ask and bid prices. So let's call enter function right here. So now we are just using these static targets. So let's test it. And if it works, you'll add the dynamic option as well. Just 1 second. This is my Steam. And I can click on start. So now I can. Okay, so perfect. It works. As you can see, our sell position, we enter one thing I want to change. Yeah, this is perfect. So now we enter on the same candlestick, on exactly the same candlestick as we get our signal on. Okay, so yeah, sell position, this is buy position. So as you can see, this clearly works as it should work. There's nothing we have to worry about here. Okay, so the static mode for the EA works just fine. Perfect. So now let's add the dynamic mode. So this will be a little bit, it won't be difficult. It will just take more space. Yeah, it will be more coding, but it will be a good practice. So let's do it. So right here in the inputs menu, what I will do is that I will create a enumeration variable. Yeah, so let's call it modes. And this variable mode will give you two options. So either static or dynamic. Okay. So let's do this here. And then we will create an input modes. Mode is equal to static. Okay. So by default, we want to use take profit and stop losses like this. So now we have to go back here and basically we have to do two things. So now our take profits and stop losses will depend on the mode that we choose. So it's much more efficient to basically create variables for these targets and then just use these variables as an arguments in these functions. So let's call take profit variable and then stop loss variable. Okay, so and now it's very simple. So we will check. So if mode is equal to static, so if we want to use take profit stop loss, then we just take this, copy it here. And if we don't want to use static mode, we just leave it as 0. And now we can go here and replace this by the take profit variable. And the same thing goes here. So if mode is equal to static, now we want to use this piece of code right here, otherwise 0. And let's replace this as stop loss variable. Okay, perfect. And now let's do exactly the same thing for the sell option as well. So now the only difference is that we just do bit minus and bit plus. And let's just do this. and let's just do this. Great. So where's our, we forgot something. Yeah, sorry. Syntax. It should be like this right here. Perfect. So now there's one last thing we need to do, and that is we need to create a function which basically will close all of those opposite open positions. Okay, so as I explained earlier, if we open buy position, we hold it and then we wait for the sell signal, and on the sell signal we want to close that previous buy position and open new sell position. So we can either do it without any function, so we can just do the for loop in here, but yeah, just I like functions, so I will do it via function. So let's call it close functions, close positions, and it will require one positional argument, and then that is type of the position. So basically, if we call this function in here, we want to close sell positions, okay? And if we call this function in here, we want to close buy positions. Therefore, we need to know which type we want to close. That's why we have this integer type variable in here. So let's do it. So it's very simple. For integer x is equal to 0, x is lower than positions total, and x plus plus, so we increase the x with each iteration. We firstly get the ticket, which is position get ticket, then we get the magic number, so magic is equal to position get integer, position magic, and then we get type. So this is all we need. Sorry, let's call it position type. Position get integer, position type. And now very simple if else statement. So if the magic is equal to the magic number, so this is our first condition, and position type is equal to type, then we want to position close with a ticket and -1. And that's all we need. So let's call it here. So close position for type 0. So type 0 is type buy position, and here sell position. And of course, there's one more thing we need to do. We have to check in here whether we are using the dynamic mode or not. So if mode is not equal to the dynamic, then we want to return without doing any of this. So now it should work. Let's check it. So let's check the static mode once again, just to make sure that we did not, or that I did not delete anything important, and just to make sure that it still works. And as you can see, it still works perfectly. So sell, buy, so static mode is okay. So now let's check for the dynamic mode. So dynamic, and let's test this. I will let it run for a bit, or do you know what? This might be even better. Okay, so now it froze. Perfect. Come on, I hope it will unfreeze itself, because otherwise it sometimes takes a lot of time to get it back, or to restart it, let's say. Let me just check how long. 30 minutes, that's still good. Okay, so it looks like it won't unfreeze itself. So I will try to open the MT5 like this. And if it doesn't work, yeah, this froze as well. This is just perfect. So, like, I am 100% sure that this works without any issues, because it's very simple, expert advisor. So if this, okay, so this also froze. That's just perfect. I don't know why, to be honest. Okay, so let's wait. Is it going to start itself or not? Sorry for this. If you want, you can skip forward, but the question is, if this doesn't load, I will just stop the video here and you will just have to trust me that the EA works. Or let's do one more thing. So here is my trading folder, and let's try to open it like this. Because if the MT5 stops working like this, sometimes it's very difficult to get it back running, basically, because there are some processes that may still run, and to load the MT5, it's just not that simple. And it seems that it won't load. Okay, so anyway, sorry for this inconvenience, but yeah, you can try to code this EA yourself based on this tutorial. It's not something very difficult, and the dynamic feature works 100%. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.